Good afternoon, committee, and welcome to any new members of the public joining the afternoon session of the Western and Southern Area Planning Committee. I will now conduct a roll of committee members who are present in this morning's session. Good afternoon, Councillor David Bowell.
Good afternoon, Chair.
Good afternoon, Calvin Clayton.
Afternoon, Chair.
Good afternoon, Councillor Susan Cocking.
Good afternoon, Chair.
Good afternoon, Councillor Jean Dunseth.
Good afternoon, Chairman.
Good afternoon, Councillor Nick Ireland.
Good afternoon, Chairman.
Good afternoon, Councillor Louis O'Leary.
Good afternoon, Chairman.
Good afternoon, Councillor Kate Weller.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Councillor Sarah Williams.
Good afternoon, Chair.
Good afternoon, Councillor John Worth.
Good afternoon, Chairman.
Good afternoon to you all. I hope you had a pleasant lunch.
I am also present, Chairman, if you'd like to include me on your roll call.
Oh, yeah, so you were. Good afternoon, Councillor Bill Pipe.
Good afternoon, Chairman. Good afternoon to everybody.
We will now continue the agenda set out on your packs, but before I do so, may I advise members of the public that item 5E on the agenda, the enforcement action on Homestead Farm, Main Street, Bothenhampton, Dripple, DT64BJ, has been deferred to our meeting of the 7th of January 2021 and will not be determined at this meeting. That therefore leaves us one item for the afternoon session. And when I can get my sheets back, there we go. That will be item 5F on the agenda, and that is WP 20-00477/FUL, and that's the Adult Education Centre at 45 Dorchester Road, Weymouth, DT4 7JT. Demolition of an existing single-storey modular building, glazed-linked corridor and privacy wall. Change of use of existing property from office use to residential use on first and second floors. Erect two-storey residential children's home. Installation of boundary fencing and railings and alteration to vehicle access and gates. I now invite Hugh Williams, the case officer, to introduce this item.
Thank you, Chairman. This application is made by Dorset Council and is presented for determination in accordance with the Council's constitution provisions for such applications. The application site, shown edged red on the location plan, comprises land and buildings at number 45 Dorchester Road in the Melcombe Regis area of Weymouth. The application proposal comprises a number of components. Firstly, the demolition of a single-storey modular building located in the rear of the site adjacent to Park Lane, and also the demolition of a corridor, single-storey link corridor between that building and the original residential or former residential villa, which for convenience I'll describe as number 45 Dorchester Road. Proposal for the erection of a two-storey children's home between number 45 being to the south, and properties at Kildare Court, an apartment building adjacent. Partial change of use of number 45 from office use to residential use on the first and second floors. Boundary and fencing amendments along the Dorchester Road and also along Park Lane, and finally minor alterations to the existing vehicular access to Dorchester Road. The aerial photograph shows a number of trees located sort of within and along the boundaries of the property, the vast majority of which are to be retained and some of which are protected by preservation orders. Opposite the application site on Dorchester Road is the former Weymouth Technical College, a Grade 2 listed building that has been converted into residential use. Just to the south of that is the former college chapel, which is not listed, but it's quite an attractive building and is also in residential use. Kildare Court to the north, and number 43 Dorchester Road to the south, behind which is a detached residential property, which is number 8 Park Lane. A couple of bird's eye views from the design and access statement, which show number 45 and it surrounds the former technical college to the rear and the chapel, this being a relatively recent extension to number 47 Dorchester Road, and another former villa that's also in residential use to the south. That's a simplified version of the tree constraints drawing that's been submitted with the application, showing the location of the existing trees. There are 2 to be removed, both from the one from the rear boundary with Park Lane and one adjacent to the existing access, both of which are proposed for removal in line with tree officer recommendations. The other detail shown on this plan is the location and extent of the proposed demolition. It includes the single-storey modular building, the link corridor, a small wall within the back garden, and also a screen wall which has been erected primarily to obscure view of the modular building that it masks. A few photographs from Dorchester Road, this looking south at Kildare Court, this being the modern extension, the original villa here, this being number 45. This looking through at the application site from the opposite side of the road, so this is number 45. The children's home is proposed in the gap behind. You can see the screen wall here that screens the views of the modular building behind. Another street scene view. The existing access was widened a few years ago to accommodate the movement of minibuses into and out of the site when it was in use as an adult education centre. The proposals are to reinstate, to narrow down the access such that the gates will again meet in the middle, and the wall adjacent will be extended as was previously. A view from lower down Dorchester Road, number 45. This is number 43. Within the site, you can see the screen wall that would be removed and the link corridor, and the relationship with Kildare Court next door. Kildare Court has a number of side-facing windows, those on the ground and the first floor, potentially impacted by the proposed development, and both of which are to habitable rooms. I'll discuss those later. And a series of views from Park Lane, this looking northwest. Number 8 Park Lane, the detached dwelling behind 43 Dorchester Road, looks out onto the application site. This being number 45, and this being the modular building. The boundary along the application site is a combination of walling and lower walling and trees. The modular building is of no great quality or architectural merit, such that its removal and the other elements of demolition are considered to be beneficial to the character and appearance of the conservation area. Along this section of the front of the Park Lane frontage, there's a low wall, and the proposal is that would have fencing constructed on top of it, similar to an arrangement to the rear of Kildare Court adjoining. This is a view from within the application site, looking southeast towards Park Lane, properties on the opposite side of Park Lane, and the detached dwelling number 8 looking towards the application site. This stone wall shown to be removed. In terms of the site context, the application site's within the development boundary for Weymouth, and also shown in the local plan to be within the Lodmore Hill conservation area. The boundary of the conservation area runs along Park Lane to the rear of the property, but the application site is entirely located within it, as is the Technical College and the chapel opposite. Again, confirmation of the extent of the conservation area and also location of relevant listed buildings. The Technical College opposite, others I believe sufficiently far removed from the site, they won't be impacted, their setting won't be impacted by the proposals. Another view of the Technical College, which is now known as Cranford House. In terms of the application proposals, we've got the 2-storey element of the children's home positioned between number 45 and Kildare Court, with a single-storey projection section at the rear. The existing access shown to be narrowed. A considerable amount of tarmac removed from the northern section of the site to reinstate garden and amenity space, with provision for parking for up to 9 vehicles in the south of the site. The arrangements for enclosure across the front of the site include the addition of railings atop the existing wall, and as I mentioned earlier, fencing on top of the wall at the rear. The proposed elevations indicate the use of rain screen cladding to the external walls and grey slate or composite tiles to the roofs. Solar panels are shown on the rear roof of the 2-storey element. And generally the architectural expression of the building has been described as subdued and well-mannered, being both subordinate and sympathetic to the setting, between the slightly larger, grander buildings next door, such that the proposed new building won't clamour for attention within the street scene. A condition is proposed controlling the submission and approval and use of approved materials, and cladding in the form that's proposed is available in a wide range of colours and also in a range of textures. The proposal illustrates the use of a structured rather than brick type or more random application of the cladding, which the design team feels is more honest in being of its time, and rather than trying to imitate or replicate historic detailing on the adjacent buildings. The appearance has further been illustrated with indicative street views and computer generated images, which perhaps give a more realistic view as to what the building might look like with these treatments. The Weymouth Civic Society has objected to the design proposals, and the Council's Conservation and Design Officer has also expressed some reservations about the combination of the building design and its compatibility with modern modular construction techniques. The Conservation Officer has also stated that there are no concerns with either the site or the building layout itself. Taken as a whole, In my opinion, the application proposals would enhance the character and appearance of the Lodmore Hill Conservation Area and would not detract from the setting of the former Technical College or any other listed buildings, such that there would be no harm to the significance of any designated heritage assets. The design and access statement includes design justification and further references the design thinking, including precedent photographs of terraced cottages at Spring Grove on Dorchester Road, these being just to the south of number 43, so sort of one plot further down, and also the coach house building at number 8 Park Lane. The floor plans for the children's home include a total of 7 bedrooms, five of which would be on the first floor, intended for the accommodation of children. All the bedrooms would have ensuite facilities, and all rooms would have access to the dining lounge, to communal dining lounge and kitchen facilities. The proposals at number 45 include provision for the reinstatement of 5 bedrooms, mostly in a bedsit style arrangement, with access to communal lounge and kitchen facilities. This accommodation would also be used by children's services, but for a range of purposes, including the accommodation of care leavers. I'm satisfied that the layout and internal arrangements are acceptable in accordance with policy requirements. During pre-application discussions, some concerns were expressed by neighbouring occupiers about the potential for overshadowing of the side-facing windows at Kildare Court, and also regarding the size and positioning of the children's home. Shadowing analysis presented in the design and access statement illustrates the existing and proposed situations for 3 o'clock in the afternoon on the winter and summer solstices, with the analysis indicating only slight change relative to the existing situations. The existing situation being seen to involve some overshadowing of the neighbouring property in both the existing and proposed situations. I never seem to be terribly lucky when I go to Weymouth with the weather, but this is a photograph that the Civic Society presented along with their representation, and it does show the degree of overshadowing of the ground floor window at Kildare Court. I visited the occupiers of both the ground and the first floor properties, and these are views this is a view from the bay window of the first floor apartment. I'm satisfied that the impact on amenity is acceptable. The development will not appear unduly overbearing in either views. From this view, the front of the children's home would be seen to be generally in line with the building line at Kildare Court, and from the first floor window of the side-facing room, the rear element of the 2-storey building would be roughly in line with the window at number 45. Don't believe it would be physically overbearing on the occupiers. In my opinion, the siting and appearance of the children's home as detailed in the application is acceptable. There are no updates to report since the report was published. The recommendation is that planning permission be granted, subject to the conditions set out in the report. That concludes the presentation.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I now invite Alison Shaw to read written representations submitted by the public. Good afternoon, Alison.
Good afternoon, Chairman. Clive Gray, Dorset Council Architect and Project Manager. Dorset Council need to take steps to meet its statutory duty to ensure that there is sufficient accommodation for children in care and to increase the availability of accommodation for looked after children within Dorset. Providing this residential home in Weymouth will improve the quality of service and outcome for young people within the area by adding to the required residential provision for local children. At present, local children who need the use of such a provision may be offered accommodation outside of the county, away from family, friends, and the reassurance of their surroundings. This can have a detrimental effect on development and well-being. With the proposed development in place, children will be able to stay in their local area with minimal travel to meet friends and family. It will also provide the additional comfort of being able to continue their education at their existing schools, which will improve their prospects. To achieve this, Dorset Council has identified the grounds of 45 Dorchester Road to locate an off-site constructed building for use as a residential children's home. The adjacent existing house will also be used by Children's Services for other services to support looked after children and care leavers. The new residential children's home will accommodate 5 children with the appropriate bedroom provision, including ensuite, living, dining and kitchen facilities, together with associated live-in staff facilities. Accommodation in 45 Dorchester Road will include 5 bedrooms. Following the report regarding residential sufficiency for Dorset 2020, presented by the portfolio holder for Children, Education and Skills, Cabinet considered this project and approved it on the 3rd of March 2020. The proposal is for an appropriate conforming residential use in a sustainable location that is well served by public transport and within comfortable walking distance of a range of local amenities. The proposal has been assessed Dorset Council's planning officer to be acceptable in design terms, would have a beneficial impact on biodiversity and would not adversely impact on either the safety or the efficiency of the local highway network. There would not be any significant harm to neighbouring residential amenity, and the character and appearance of the Lodmore Conservation Area would be enhanced. The proposal is therefore in accordance with the development plan, and planning permission should be granted. That's all, Chairman.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you, Alison. I now call on Hugh Williams to respond with any salient points he may wish to add.
Nothing to add to that, Chairman.
Thank you, Hugh. Okay. Are there any questions of a technical nature for the case officer, please?
I have Councillor Louis O'Leary, Chairman.
Thank you. Hello, Louis.
Sorry, no, I didn't have any questions of a technical nature. I was just going to say how good of a scheme this was, and I actually wanted to propose it, but
no, we're waiting into debate then. Okay. Does anyone else have any questions of a technical nature?
I have none at the moment, Chairman.
Okay. So therefore, I will now open the debate to members. Now, Louis, would you like to start off?
Yeah, I just think this is a very good scheme. I think it's exactly what's needed, and you know, I know the area very well, and I'd be very honoured to propose it.
Okay, Councillor Jean Dunseith, Chairman.
Sorry, I missed that. Sorry about
Councillor Jean Dunseith.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chairman. I was a bit late. I did have a bit of a query, and I was just going to ask about the railings that seem to divide the site the proposed children's home from number 45 Dorchester Road. I believe there are railings going down the middle of the site.
Thank you, Councillor Dempsey. I'll hand that back to Bob to actually explain
Thank you.
what the position is.
Thank you, Chairman. The proposal is for a degree of separation between the uses. Both buildings would be used by children's services, but they are separate facilities. In the children's home would be occupied by residents and staff of the children's home, whereas number 45 would accommodate other children in care and care leavers, as well as a number of children's services office facilities. The internal subdivision of the plot, I don't personally think is sort of unreasonable or detrimental to the character and appearance of the conservation area. The reinstatement of much more garden into this plot recreates what is the sort of more traditional plot layout within this part of the conservation area than what's there previously, which is sort of the single-storey modular building tucked at the back and large expanses of tarmac surface. But there are divisions within to separate the sort of use components within the site.
Thank you.
Thank you. Does that answer your concerns, Councillor Dempsey?
Yes. Well, I saw them and I just thought I'd mention it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other members wishing to speak?
Myself, Chairman, and Councillor Sarah Williams. Sarah, would you like to go first?
Okay, Councillor Williams.
Thank you, Bill. And thank you, Chair. Sorry to go through the Chair, not as Vice Chair. Yeah, regarding the narrowing of the gates, can I ask what the width of the proposed gate's going to be, and whether they're wide enough to get emergency vehicles through? Because obviously they were widened to allow minibuses through. Sorry to bring a late technical question.
Okay, Councillor Williams, I'm going to hand that back to Hugh Williams in order to answer that query.
I don't have a note to hand of the exact widths, but the existing access has been widened out to something of the order of 5 to 6 metres, and the proposal is to bring that down to about 3.5 metres. So it is a narrowing, but it is still a it will still be a generous generous opening that frankly is substantially wider than a lot that you'd have for residential properties. I don't believe that emergency vehicles would have any difficulty gaining access to the site were they to need it. My understanding is that the minibus that was being used previously was quite a substantial vehicle, and the access improvement was to make manoeuvring simpler rather than it couldn't get in previously. It was just a very tight turn both in and out.
Okay, Hugh, thank you very much. Does that answer your query?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, now Councillor Pipe, you were next.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Just to clarify, Hugh, the 5 proposed bedsits, as you call them, in the new development would also add to that a further 5 which are currently in existence in number 45, making a total of 10 potential rooms for for the children's home, or are they separate?
There are five children will be housed within the children's home. Number 45, there are no current residential units in number 45 at all. It's been used historically for adult education and for registry services. The proposals are to put residential accommodation on the first floor and second floors, including a total of 5 bedrooms.
Okay.
The ground floor remains in office and associated service use. So in total, across the 2 buildings, there are 12 bedrooms, 5 for children and 2 for adult carers in the new building, and 5 in the existing building.
Okay, that's good. I would like to point out the potential revenue savings here for Dorset Council, who currently spend literally millions of pounds placing our young people, who they're cared for people, of which they are of course the corporate parent, in places as far away as
Wales,
all I believe. So the potential revenue savings here, should this go ahead, would be really quite significant, and I encourage members to actually vote for this. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Pipe. Now, is there anyone else wishing to speak? Okay.
No, that's it, Chairman.
Okay, right. If there's no more deliberation and members are content, they've heard the entire presentation and debate, I'll now put it to the vote. Those to accept those recommendations. Councillor David Bowell.
Chairman, is there a seconder for that proposal, please?
Oh, I take your pardon. Thank you very much indeed. I've got a proposal.
I think Councillor Weller was going to propose.
Councillor Weller, as previously, Chairman, has indicated within the chat line, but for clarity, Councillor Weller, you need to be audible in your intention to second this motion. Could you do that, please?
Certainly, thank you. Yes, I'm happy to second the proposal.
Thank you. All yours, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Piper. Yes. Okay. Right. We're now going to take a vote by roll call, and I'm going to start off with Councillor Dave Bolwell.
For, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Kevin Clayton.
Yeah, for, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Susan Cocking.
For, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Jean Dunseth.
For, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Bill Pipe.
In favour, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Nick Ireland.
For, Chairman.
Thank you. For clarity, Councillor Louis O'Leary.
For, Chairman.
Thank you. For clarity, Councillor Kate Weller.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Sarah Williams.
For, Chair.
And Councillor John Burr.
For, Chairman.
And I am in favour also. That, I believe, is now unanimous. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you, members. That concludes item 5 on the agenda. We'll now take item 6, appeal decisions. Members, I direct your attention to notice of appeals and appeal decisions, particularly with regard to material considerations on how it will impact on future deliberation. And I now invite Anne Collins, the Area Manager for Planning, to present this item.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I thought it might just be helpful today just to highlight a couple of the decisions to members, as 3 of them relate to committee decisions from meetings earlier this year. So the first 2 appeal decisions on the sheet refer to Wessex Stadium at Chickerell, which members, certainly some members will recall, was brought before committee in February this year initially, and then again one of the applications was returned in July this year. So the first appeal relates to the new vehicle and pedestrian access, surface water ponds, open space and landscaping. and members refused this in respect of concerns about cycling and pedestrian provision, and members will see that the inspector went with that and they dismissed the appeal for essentially the same kind of reasons. The second application for Wessex Stadium was the Reserve Matters application for the housing development. And members refused that for two reasons. The first being the design of the development and the materials, and the second kind of a reason relating to permeability. Now, interestingly, the inspector considered design and the context of the site, and you'll see that he actually considered the design to be acceptable in the context of this particular site. However, like members, he had concerns about permeability and provision really for pedestrians and cyclists, and so did dismiss the appeal on a lack of permeability. There's then been included a few appeal decisions related to dwellings outside of defined development boundaries. I thought members may find those helpful to have a review of those. And then the last appeal decision referred to is in respect of 56 Preston Road, Weymouth. This application came before committee in June earlier this year. It was recommended for approval by the case officer, but committee refused it due to concerns about impact on the neighbours and impact on the character and appearance of the area. You see the inspector went through the impacts on the neighbouring properties, and his conclusion was that it wouldn't have a significant detrimental impact. He also looked at the character of the area and the fact that the building was in a large plot wouldn't be considered to be overdevelopment, would be overly prominent in the street scene. And so the appeal was actually allowed subject to planning conditions, which is contrary to members' refusal of it. So there were some there that were won as a result of members' decisions and some lost, and it's worth reading those and reflecting on those, I think. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much indeed. I thought members would be very useful to actually see what the results of appeal decisions were in order to actually determine our or guide our deliberation in the future. Okay, members, we'll now take item 7 on the agenda, urgent items. Now, I've had no prior notification of any items of business which is considered to be urgent, and that is pursuant to section 100B 4B of the Local Government Act 1972. So therefore, there's none to be discussed. That concludes the agenda, members, and therefore I would like to thank everyone for their forbearance with this particular committee, and in view of the fact that, of course, we did have a little bit of a break during the day because of circumstances of withdrawals and deferrals. Those who I'm not going to see before Christmas, I'd like to wish a very happy Christmas or festive New Year, festive period too, and I look forward to seeing you all in 2021. Thank you very much indeed.
You almost said 19 something then.
I nearly did. Yes, I nearly did. Yeah.